I have the absolute pleasure of hooking up with Mr. Steve Maraboli today here at the Gold Coast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
so
Look
much.
at you taking over the world.
Oh, look, just for those that may not know who you are, can you give us a little
For
bit
those
of
that may not know who I am, first of all, how dare you? Second, I'm no one in particular. I'm you with a story. I'm just brave and courageous enough to share it, and maybe crazy enough to share it, to share and empower and inspire as many people as I can, like you, in my way.
Awesome.
I'm here to live.
And that's why we've connected, right? So I love to connect with like-minded people so we can empower you, inspire you to do whatever it is that you love to do.
To live out loud. It's really, if you try to be me or try to be Dani, you're gonna be miserable forever. Just like you're living out of alignment now, so there comes that misery, and you just kind of find different ways to anesthetize the pain that comes from living a misaligned, disaligned, or unaligned life. The reality of it is watching people like us, while we appreciate the applause, it should inspire you not to be us, but to be yourselves, and to have the courage to see that it's not an impeccable world. It's perfectly imperfect, just like you. You're gonna have your ups and downs, and most importantly, you're gonna have a new day, a new opportunity to do something that you wouldn't have done before because you were existing instead of living.
Yes. What is the difference between motivation and inspiration in your eyes?
I think inspiration is what is the spark, and motivation is the fire.
Okay.
I think that people, I think everyone's inspired,
Yes.
and very few people are motivated. That's how I would delineate those two. I think that inspiration is we're hopeful creatures. If you don't have inspiration, you're probably half dead, spiritually, emotionally.
Yes.
Most people have inspiration. They are inspired to do things, to live a certain way. It's why we watch TV, it's why we buy things, it's why we hope and dream. That's all inspiration. Motivation is the act of pursuing. And that's where people fall short, because it's a lot less poetic.
Tell me a little bit about your books. You've got a few out there.
I have a few out there. They're really just notes to myself that people found so interesting enough to suggest that I publish them, and I did.
Thank you for that. It's amazing.
And they go out there, and I think my words resonate with people.
Absolutely.
I cut to the chase. They're really, I've mastered the art of fortune cookie writing, really is what it is. Simplifying ideas, notes that I make for myself, and they seem to resonate with other people, whether it's an up, it's a down, it's a relationship woe, or a business high. Whatever it is, I try to be as concise as I can with those words. And again, there's 7 billion people in the world, but we're all going through the same stuff.
Absolutely.
That's why I could be literally on the other side of the world from where I live, and my words resonate no less here than they do in the United States. My grandfather said, hey listen, I want you to, when you're navigating the streets, I come from a quiet Long Island town, and it's picturesque. It's actually the town they shoot a lot of movies in. This quaint, beautiful kind of community, water community. And I was a kid, and I wanted to ride my bike around town, and my mom, of course, would say, don't get killed. And my grandpa said, hey listen, when you're navigating through town, I want you to pretend that you're invisible. Pretend that no one can see you. Now you're gonna go to driveways, you're gonna wanna cross streets, cars may stop, or you may think they see you. Don't take that for granted. Pretend you're invisible, pretend they are blind, and then navigate. And I thought, as an adult, that's really brilliant advice. What a safe way to navigate through the streets of Port Washington. As I got older, I wanted to apply that to the rest of life in general. How does your life change when you start assuming those type of things? When you take the opinion out, you take the vision out, and you insert behavior. You take away the power they would have, and you take that power yourself. So now, how do I, instead of riding my bike and navigating through the streets of Port Washington, pretending others are blind, how do I navigate through the streets of my life? How do I navigate along the journey of my life, pretending others are blind and deaf? How do I do that? How does it change when I can't rely on someone's interpretation of what I'm doing, and have to solely focus on what I'm doing? What does I love you then look like? We know what it sounds like.
show me.
I can be as poetic as anybody else. But what does it look like? What does I'm sorry, what does I forgive you look like? What does I'm proud of you look like?
Yes.
These type of things will change the dynamic not only of your personal relationships, your business relationships, and your life in general. What does I want to be fit for the summer look like? We know what it sounds like. We've all mastered the art of self and outward deception. But what does it look like? When you can't tell somebody you want to train, but you have to go train, your life changes. You realize, my mom, who later passed away, one of the things that hit me when she was diagnosed wasn't that she was about to die in that sense. It was more in that she was looking at her life as, was I really alive anyway? When it's not that it was a surprise that she was dying, it was a surprise that she wasn't really living. Those things strike you because you realize, wait, is that me? Am I existing through the day? Am I saying, holy cow, it's Friday already? Wow, it's Monday already? It's 2016, 2017, 2018 already?
What drives you? Who inspires you? Who do you admire?
I admire so many people historically, but day to day I admire people who have the scars of life, who have been through the ups and downs, who have been the perpetrator and the victim, the people who have been the crook and the victim. I love those type of people because those are the ones that really shape history, the crazy ones, right?
Yeah.
You won't open a history book and read about the normal people. You won't. It's the crazy ones who you're reading about. The people who are like, oh, let me get on a boat for months and see what I hit. Those are the ones that do that. Let me take someone who thought of, let's take a vehicle and put it in the sky. How do we put something in the sky? And those type of people, the people around them for sure thought they were crazy. But those are the ones that shape it. So for me, those are the ones. The people who pretend to be perfect, who have these impeccable images, and you see this a lot on social media as well, these impeccable type people. First of all, you're full of shit. Second of all, who's more boring than you?
Yeah.
I want to hear the scars. For me, it's the scars that matter. The scars are the most beautiful thing. And I think that innately we know this. In the United States, one of our national parks and the most visited, even though it's in one of the most horrific areas of the country, is the Grand Canyon. Famous.
Yeah.
The Grand Canyon's famous, and what is it? Beautiful. It's famous for its beauty. People will go in the middle of the Southwest desert to just check out in extreme heat to look at this beautiful thing. And what are they looking at, Dani? They're looking at scars. Scars of what an ocean did. That's what it is. So innately, we find beauty in scars. Mountains are plate tectonics and crashes and things were fighting for space, and they went up because they couldn't decide which one's going to win. That's scars.
Yeah.
We love scars. And so I'm no different. Just I enjoy seeing it in people. I love seeing people who get up after they fall. And the scars of life, that's what makes the characters, what makes people funny, that what makes them enjoyable for conversation, and it's what makes great things happen. Something great had to happen for someone to invent the airplane. Something great also had to happen for someone to invent the parachute.
Yeah.
And so, for me, that's all the beauty in life.
Stories. And what about yourself, as far as what do you think changed within your life to be a motivator, to want to share your life with the world? Tell me about your little free advice project that's coming up.
I'm here. I'm here. I think that's what motivates me.
Yes.
I think that...
What got you here?
I don't know that I was ever anywhere else. I don't know anything different.
Yes.
If I were to put you, if you were to get a job tomorrow as a parking garage attendant, I bet you'd be motivating, inspiring, you'd be funny, you'd be still dancing around to Michael Jackson. you'd be doing all that same stuff.
Yes.
So you really, I'm just me wherever. So I don't know that I ever turned into this, or I think that when I was a kid, I was playing sports, and I would give pep talks, and I would say, oh, we're not losing too bad. It's a new game. Let's do it. Like, I was always that guy. I just became a little more experienced, more scars, more education, and I have this niche where the way I think, the people who hang out with me often will tell you that I speak in quotes.
Yes.
It's not that I'm a writer. This is the way I speak.
Just how you articulate.
I break everything down, and when I share ideas or thoughts, it comes out like a fortune.
So what is your famous quote? Like, what would be one of your words of wisdom that's out there and you're proud of?
I'm proud of every single one of them, because I bleed on paper.
Yeah.
That every single one of those
I feel that blood.
Yeah, every single one of those things means something to me.
Yeah.
They're a picture, you know. It's an interesting thing about books and quotes, is that they're a snapshot of a thought, no different than a picture.
Yes.
So sometimes when I see something that I may not even agree with now, just like I may not agree with an outfit I was wearing in a picture I have when I was 20.
Yes.
These quotes, some of them are from when I was 20. So I may not even agree with them, but they all hold a certain place for me, because somebody who's in that same place I was might come across that quote, and it might change their life like it did for me. So I don't have a particular favorite. I have favorites from other people, but not for myself. For me, it's like having a favorite picture of yourself.
Yeah, that's true. So, so what's a famous quote that you've...
I think Horace Mann was an American educator from the late 1800s, and this is probably not a famous quote, but for me it resonates. Horace Mann was, in the late 1800s in the United States, number one, he was for women's empowerment. He loved his wife from head to toe and wanted her to be able to do everything that he could do, and in his time in the United States, she couldn't. He wanted everyone to be educated, regardless of color, sex, socioeconomic conditions. He thought education was the key, and he was right. He was right. We find in countries around the world, the people who give the best education systems have the best everything. Science, technology, medicine, everything. Happiness, quotient, everything comes from education. And you see countries that struggle with education, in many ways like my dear US, you see those, everything kind of topple and adjust. So Horace Mann was a philanthropist, and he believed he quit doing what he was doing so he can educate as many people as he could. And his quote was, until you have won some victory for humanity, until you have done something to benefit humanity, you should be ashamed to die.
Yes.
And that resonates with me.
Awesome. How are you enjoying our beautiful country?
I love your country. There's so many beautiful places on earth, and this is definitely one of them. For those of you out there, I want you to decide that you want something different, and then have the courage to go get it. Have the courage to create an environment conducive to your growth. Right now, the people you're surrounded by and the behaviors that you conduct yourself with, they get you what you have now. Buy every book in the self-help industry, buy every magic crystal, every secret spiritual whatever nonsense you're buying, and if you don't change those things, I promise you, nothing will change. You got yourself to where you are, only you can get yourself out. Pay attention to what you want, act upon it. If you have to tell people what you want and who you're about, you're doing it wrong. Your actions should be so dedicated, no one should have to ask you either of those things. Decide what you want and act upon it. And the people that are your resistance, the ones who aren't clapping when you're winning, those people, go. They gotta go. I don't care if you have to cry in the fetal position, cry for a week, do whatever you have to do to get that poison out of your life. Change starts with you, change ends with you, and the people around you will either be a conducive to the growth or shrinkage of whatever it is you're doing. Pay attention to your behavior and pay attention to the environment you keep, and watch your life come alive.
Thank you so much for joining us, Steve. And for more, come see me at DaniStevens.com. And remember, you are the driver in life, not the passenger. Thanks so much.